The New Orleans Saints fall to the Arizona Cardinals by a score of 20-13 in heartbreaking fashion. The New Orleans Saints drove the ball down to the goal line to the red zone, and they had opportunities to be able to cash it in, including a 18-yard dime to Juwan Johnson, who just couldn't bring it in the end zone. But there was a lot of positive things that happened in this game for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, this is a team that nobody expects to do anything, a team that everybody pretty much has written off, but they showed a lot of fight in this game. I'll start with the defense. I thought that the defense, they had their issues, especially in the secondary. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who is now the New Orleans Saints' #1 corner, had some issues going up against Marvin Harrison Jr., which is an issue for a lot of cornerbacks. But he fought very hard, and he was able to kind of neutralize him in the second half. The New Orleans Saints secondary has got to get better. Trey McBride, the tight end of the Arizona Cardinals, also ate up the secondary. They had issues tackling. But I expect for the New Orleans Saints to be much better in the tackling department. Earlier in the season, you start to see teams around the National Football League struggle in this regard. I think it has a lot to do with some of the rules for the offseason, and also training camp isn't as rigorous as it once was. So teams don't really put a lot of emphasis on certain things. So you see it rear its ugly head early in the season. I expect for that to change. But the defensive line of the New Orleans Saints did a very admirable job. You didn't have Chase Young, who was out with a calf injury, but you had Cam Jordan in his 15th season turning back the clock, had a sack and a half, started the game off on a high note, had the fans excited. He finished with 1.5 sacks. You have Carl Granderson. He also had a sack and a half. The defense sacked Kyler Murray 5 times, and that's pretty impressive, especially since historically the New Orleans Saints have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. But the offensive side of the football, there was a lot of mistakes that the Saints made, a lot of penalties, a lot of false start penalties and holding penalties. The Saints aren't designed to play from behind. They got to stay ahead of the chains, and you got to play mistake-free football if you're going to be competitive throughout the year. And Spencer Rattler, he was 27 of 46, 214 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown, but he didn't turn the ball over either. And if the Saints are going to be competitive once again, they're going to need Spencer Rattler to play like this, to be able to stay ahead of the chains. He got the ball out on time. He was able to get the ball out quickly, and he also made really precise decisions down the field. Now, there were some plays that Spencer Rattler, I'm pretty sure, will want back. There were a couple times where he put the ball in harm's way that causes wide receivers to get blew up a little bit. You got to be able to be conscious of how the play could affect the wide receivers. Maybe throwing it a little bit lower so they can catch it low so they won't absorb a hit, or maybe towards the sidelines. But Spencer Rattler understands that, and I'm pretty sure he'll get that cleaned up. But there were a lot of positive things in this game, despite the Saints losing it. And this is what you have to look for if a team is going through a rebuild, in my opinion. Not so much about, them winning football games, because you kind of understand that it's going to be tough. But looking at the positive things they can build on. And there were a lot of things in this game that the Saints could build on. They got to eliminate the penalties. They can't shoot themselves in the foot. And most importantly, they got to stay ahead of the opposition. If the New Orleans Saints can do that, then they can find themselves being there in the end, similar to how they were against the Arizona Cardinals. And Saints fans will continue to be on the edge of their seat, believing that the New Orleans Saints can get it done in 2025.